Well, after a few weeks, I'm finally back to the 2017 PFA offseason, as it's now time for like the first round of free agency before we get ready for the draft, as it took, like a few days to sign all the players, because in PFA, in order for a player to sign free agency, at least two teams have to go after that player. It can't work. It won't work at all if one team goes after one player and no one else does. Because that's why I always would try to do. Have one team sign the player, because I have them all control. I control all the teams. They're not computer controlled in PFA. Sign the player they want and simulate, but it doesn't work. They don't sign whatsoever. So I have to, once I sign a player, I have to go on another team and make them a very, very bad offer, like the lowest offer possible, so they'll obviously choose the better offer, so they'll finally sign. That was a pain, but I finally did so, and we got up to almost 20 players signed. So here we go. So we're going to do it in order based upon the divisions, like I always do, as we start off with one of the worst teams last year, the Boston Destroyers, as they actually signed two players in the offseason, as they signed quarterback James Black, which that is their 50 overall. That number after their name is their overall. So he has the average quarterback, 3 years to a $3 million deal, as he could possibly be a challenge for Sterling Osborne's starting job for the Destroyers. So, and William Harris is a defensive tackle, one of the best in the free agency, if not the best, as they signed him for a 5-year deal for $23 million. So Boston obviously off to a quick start when it comes to free agency. After that, we go to the Cleveland Bulldogs, who signed Joseph Brudeau, offensive tackle with a 74 overall, for 4 years for $12.8 million. So they brought him back on the team. Then we go out to the Philadelphia Hawks, who re-signed their tackle, Jerry Leclerc, who was a 69 overall for 5 years for $9 million. And then the Louisville Saints re-signed their punter, who was the second best player in free agency, Aaron Sommer, with a 6-year deal for $18 million. Make him, I think, the highest paid punter in the league. And then we head down to Atlanta for the Atlanta Trojans, who re-signed their guard, Robert Wilbert, with a 3-year deal for $9 million. And then we go on south more to the Tampa Tropics, who re-signed Robert Womberly for 6 years for $13.2 million. He was on the original 2016 team that he got cut before the season. Then he was re-signed in 2017 after an incredible year. They re-signed him for a 6-year deal. And then we get to our two big contracts in free agency this year, and that was Oakland re-signed in their linebacker Paul Laurie, who did not want to re-sign at first during the free sign period. He wanted to go to free agency, and he ended up going back to the Oakland Majors for 7 years for $49 million, the highest possible under the current free agency system. Which, by the way, if he chose to sign with Oakland again at first, he might have gotten even more. So, just saying, maybe next time accept the offer when they gave it to you. And then this is an interesting one, as the Hawaii Phantoms signed William Hess, a wide receiver, for 3 years for $2.1 million. He's only getting $700,000 a year, and he is, of all the players, the worst overall of all the players signed. But he's very young, so a young player around average for position, especially in Hawaii, which does not really have anyone good for wide receiver except for Eric Fay and Palmer Negron. So he will definitely be third string, but seeing how Palmer is getting up there in age and he has 1 year left on his deal, he could easily become the second starter on the team, as they had a hard-fought fight between Detroit to get him, and Detroit's offer was just not as good, as Detroit focused more of their efforts on getting Forrest Williams, as he was a defensive end for 4 years for $20 million. And then we get to another player with the biggest contract, Otis Linder, just the same situation with Paul Laurie with the Majors. He was the star of the Kansas City's defense, but he did not re-sign at first, but he ended up coming back for same deal, 7 years for $49 million, the max possible he can get. Then we head back down south to Miami, as the Sharks re-signed Israel Stewart, their kicker, for 4 years for $6.4 million. And then the San Diego Rays struck big by signing David Wright, a fullback with 100 overall. He has the highest overall in the league for 4 years for $16.4 million, as they took him from the San Francisco Union. Oh boy, talk about stealing a very good player from a division rival to weaken them. And then finally, Stephen King of the Seattle Quakes, 73 overall defensive tackle for 4 years for $12.8 million. That defensive tackle class is really loaded on Seattle, so he's going to have to work hard to keep that money because it's not going to be easy in that regard. But with that, this is all the players that were re-signed right now. We still got another free agency after this, but who knows if any players will be signed or not. But next up, the big moment that we've been waiting for a while now, the 2018 PFA Draft. Oh boy, I can't wait to do that. So see you guys then, hopefully soon, for the draft.